Hey brother, welcome back to this Making of a Nice Guy series. In the last video, I told you about my mother's depression and how it affected me in my formative years of childhood. In this video, I want to talk to you kind of a continuation of the topic of depression, but how it can manifest in our life. And I want to tell you a story about my mother running her Pinto into a tree while I watched. Now this might sound like a terrifying thing, and it was terrifying to watch her try to kill herself, basically try to commit suicide in front of me. So let me just tell you the story, and then we can talk about how that kind of thing can contribute to the making of a nice guy. So one day my mother was very upset. She was had a fight with my stepfather. We lived in a separate house, trailer, and she had just come back from fighting with him, and we were on our way back to our house. And she pulled up in front of these set of trees, and she told me to get out. She demanded that I get out. She started screaming at me to get out, and I could see I was probably 11 or 12 years old at the time, if I recall correctly. And she wanted me to get out of the car, and I could see that she was lining up to run into these trees. You just know when these things are happening. And I had witnessed a whole lot of things with her over the years, and so I kind of got a sense of where her mind was in that moment. And she screamed at me and yelled at me, and of course, as a child, you don't want to disobey your parent, but at the same time, you don't want your parent to be hurt. And so I refused, and then eventually she got so irate that it felt like it was going to be more damaging for me to be in the vehicle with her than it was to be out of the vehicle with her. I didn't feel safe. It did not feel like she was in her right mind. And so I did get out of the vehicle, and then she floored it. She hit the gas, and she wound up running into these trees. Now, turns out she really wasn't going that fast. This wasn't a reasonable, thought out plan. It was just an emotional response to something, and she was being very reactive to her feelings. And so what she didn't also realize was that there were a pair of scissors on the floor, for whatever reason, that had gotten underneath the gas pedal, and so she really wasn't able to even floor it had she wanted to. And so all she wound up doing was messing up, basically totaling the front end of this car, which was a perfectly useful, working, functioning vehicle, which now she had ruined. And meanwhile, I'm standing, screaming, asking her not to do that, and watching her run her vehicle into these trees. So, how does that affect us? How does it create the nice guy? Well, look. One, we're observing all of these things. We're subject to all of these things. We feel powerless. We feel victimized. We feel dependent on somebody else. We feel like that if we could just have done something differently, done something better, not made any mistakes, not had any needs, if somehow we could have prevented that, then everything would have been okay. If we could have gotten that other person not to do that thing, then we would have been okay. If I could have gotten her not to run the car into those trees, then maybe she would have been okay. Maybe I would have been okay. Maybe things would have gone differently. But on that day, she was hell-bent on doing this. She was reactive. She was amped up, and she was not thinking clearly. She was being very reactive to her feelings, and quite honestly, there was probably nothing that I could have done. But that becomes the assigned meaning. We observe, interpret, and assign meaning to these things. We say, you know what, this is what I think this thing means. And then we roll that into a set of operating instructions, a set of rules for ourselves, where we tell ourselves, if I can get other people to do the things that I need or want them to do, then I will be okay. My needs will be met. I'll be safe. But that leaves us in a dependent, powerless, victimized state, and it doesn't leave any room for us to be creative creators of our life, to own ourself, to own our thoughts, to own our feelings, to own our desires, to be able to navigate and direct our own life. And so that's how that sort of thing affects us. Now, if you've had a similar type event, maybe not a pinto running into trees, but maybe some other life event where you were the observer of that and you assign meaning to those events and created a set of rules for yourself that said, I must be this or I can't be that, then I want to talk with you about that. I want to walk and talk with you. I want to listen to your story. I want to hear your story, and I want to be able to ask you clarification questions. I want to help you clarify your own thoughts about what it is that you believe, the meaning that you've assigned to things, and the rules that you've established for yourself that you operate by in your life that have possibly kept you looping through, getting the same results over and over again, and have left you maybe confused and frustrated and feeling powerless and dependent and victimized. I want to be able to share my own experiences and perspective with you, my journey with you, and be able to share the insights that men have shared with me with you as well. I want to be able to point to resources and help you be able to surface your own answers about how you want to live your life, the answers about what the things that you can let go of, the stories that you can stop telling yourself, and the self-limiting beliefs that you can face and ask yourself, is that true? And does that serve me? And do I want to believe that anymore? I want to have that conversation with you. And so there's a link in the description where you can pick a day and time on my calendar to schedule a 1-hour phone call. And on that phone call, we'll walk and talk with each other. And we'll also come up with a game plan to help you decide what next. How do you want to live? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to spend your time with? And what do you want to experience? Because I can guarantee you, brother, that once you start doing that work, once you become curious about your own thoughts, your own beliefs, your own assigned meaning to things, and you challenge those things, and you start deciding for yourself consciously which one of those things you want to hold on to and which one of those things you want to let go, your whole life changes. Your whole inner world changes, and then your whole outer world transforms. So that's the conversation I want to have. That's what I'm inviting you into. And until we talk, I just want to remind you to be kind to yourself. I'll talk to you soon.